Everything started as an absurd promise, a boy who seemed to have come out of a genetic experiment between LeBron James and Charles Barkley. A huge body, with the strength of an NFL lineman and the leap of an Olympic volleyball player. Zion Williamson was not just a NBA prospect. It was the plan, the chosen one, the perfect product the league had been waiting for over a decade. But today, less than 6 years after his debut, the story is no longer about his talent. It's about the fragility of his body. Scandals off the court, silent mental health struggles, the burden of million-dollar contracts, and the harsh truth. Maybe Zion was crushed even before he started. And the scariest part, this isn't just an individual failure, it's a symptom of something bigger, something the NBA is trying to hide at all costs. Because Zion's collapse doesn't just threaten his career, it threatens the league's entire business model. He may be the first piece to fall in a domino effect no one will be able to stop. Zion was designed to be more than a player since he was 16. With viral videos destroying opponents in high school gyms, he was already seen as the new face of the NBA. The media did its job, algorithms amplified it, sponsors rushed in. And when he went to Duke, he was already worth more than many professional athletes. In a world where image is worth more than performance, Zion was pure gold, even without a solid track record of durability, leadership, or consistency. When he was drafted number 1 in 2019, the New Orleans Pelicans didn't just pick a player, they chose a commercial salvation. The city needed new hope after Anthony Davis's traumatic departure. The franchise needed to sell tickets. The NBA needed a new phenomenon. And so, at 19, Zion became the cornerstone of a structure built on blind faith, toxic expectations, unrealistic projections. On paper, he delivered. In 2020-21, averaging over 27 points per game, absurd efficiency, and unquestionable physical dominance. It seemed everything was falling into place. But what few saw or preferred to ignore was that Zion's body was always at odds with his style of play. He was too big, too heavy, too pressured. Every leap seemed risky. Every landing a roulette. The NBA knew, the Pelicans knew, but no one stopped it, because stopping Zion meant admitting they may have bet too much on a body that couldn't handle the league's pace. So they pushed, forced, sold. Zion became the cover of NBA 2K, signed a $197 million contract, became a championship hope, but he never had real time to adapt, to strengthen, to mature. And then the injuries started. First the knee, then the foot. What seemed like temporary absences became chronic, and with them, doubts came. Silence from the franchise, frustration from fans, and Zion's withdrawal, not just physical, but emotional. For months he disappeared. No interviews, no games. Rumors began to circulate that he was overweight, that he had broken with the medical team, that he felt betrayed by the franchise, that he was pressured beyond what was bearable. But when he returned, between flashes of brilliance and new breaks, Zion was no longer the same, and no one wanted to admit what was becoming increasingly clear. He was breaking down, not just his body, but his mind, his confidence, his desire to play. Off the court, scandals started piling up, ex-girlfriends exposing conversations, reports of emotional instability, gossip about bad relationships with teammates and staff. And once again, the media did what it always does, turned human chaos into spectacle. Meanwhile, the NBA stayed silent because Zion was still an asset, still valuable, still could recover. So the cameras kept rolling, social media kept pushing. But the truth was one: Zion was disintegrating in real time, and this silent collapse raises an uncomfortable question, perhaps the most important of all. What if Zion can't come back? What if he never reaches the level everyone expected? What will the NBA do with the void he will leave? Because he was not just a promising player. He was a multi-million-dollar project, a symbol of hope for a franchise, an anchor for business deals, a planned face to replace aging legends. If Zion falls, the impact won't be just technical, it will be structural. The league will have to rethink how it bets on youth, how it builds narratives, how it protects or abandons its idols. Because what's happening with Zion isn't an isolated case. It's a reflection of a model that consumes and discards, that demands maturity from teenagers, that turns bodies into products, that profits from promise but doesn't invest in care. Zion Williamson may come back. He may have a healthy season. He may silence critics for a while. But the damage is already done. The break has already happened. And the question now is, what will we do about it? Because ignoring this collapse is not just bad, it's dangerous. Zion Williamson was sold as the perfect body, a war tank with a point guard's leap. But the truth is, from the start, the NBA knew his physique was a ticking time bomb. At Duke, he already tore a shoe with the force of his own step, and yet he was immediately placed as the new face of the league. But Zion's body couldn't take it. Injuries came one after another: meniscus, ankle, foot. He missed more than 100 games in his first 3 years. Instead of developing slowly, Zion was rushed, overloaded, and forced to sustain an image bigger than himself. Each return was seen as a rebirth, each new absence a disaster. The narrative was always extreme, and while he tried to recover physically, the pressure increased. The expectation was that he would dominate every night, as if talent could heal torn tendons. Zion began to play scared, avoiding contact, hesitating on plays that were once natural. The body the NBA sold as a machine slowly stopped responding, but the league never slowed down. Because Zion was not just an athlete, he was a brand. And brands can't fail. Zion was not just a phenomenon on the court. Off it, he became a symbol. Advertising campaigns, contracts with sports brands, video game covers, documentary promises. His face was everywhere, even when his body wasn't on the court. But this created image became a prison. Every public appearance was analyzed. Every photo of him overweight made headlines. Every absence generated rumors. Zion withdrew. He started avoiding interviews. And slowly his presence was replaced by a strange silence. The NBA, meanwhile, kept silent. The league that profited from every hype around Zion disappeared when things started going wrong. No public emotional support, no mental health protection campaign. Zion was abandoned by the same machine that built him. And this is the biggest danger. When the image collapses, the player goes down with it. Because the NBA refuses to admit it, manufactures idols with expiration dates. And when one breaks even young, promising, and billionaire, the system simply pretends it was never responsible. In 2023, while Zion was already dealing with physical pain and constant questioning, something exploded off the court. An ex-partner published a series of messages, audios, and accusations that quickly went viral. It wasn't just an intimate scandal. It was a direct attack on the image the NBA tried to protect. Zion, who had always been reserved, was brutally exposed. His private life became entertainment. Influencers, sports channels, fans, everyone participated in the public downfall. What could have been resolved quietly turned into a spectacle. The NBA's prodigy boy was now being ridiculed on national television. And while all this was happening, where was the NBA? Absent, there was no statement, no support. The machine that pushes young stars from high school to fame disappeared the moment the marketing turned into a crisis. Zion was left alone once again. This sequence of public humiliation, combined with pressure for results, a history of injuries, and accumulated emotional wear, became the tipping point. Since then, Zion has never been the same. The flame that made him unstoppable seems to have gone out, not for lack of talent, but for lack of foundation. Though Zion Williamson is not just a player for the NBA, he is a symbol of hope, a billion-dollar investment, and a portrait of modern sports. If he truly collapses completely, the impact will go far beyond the court. First, it will be a shock to the New Orleans Pelicans franchise, which built its sales and marketing strategy around him. Zion's definitive fall means huge financial losses, drops in audience, and a blow to the morale of the fans. But the deepest consequence is for the NBA itself, because Zion represents the model the league wants to replicate. Young talent sold as global brands before their bodies and minds are ready. If Zion doesn't hold up, it will be clear proof that this formula is flawed, and that the price paid for this excessive pressure can be very high. Moreover, Zion's collapse could set a precedent for other young players to question the system. Mental health, physical overload, media manipulation, all could resurface with renewed force. This could force the NBA to change its policies, something it has avoided at all costs until now. The problem is that while the league profits from the spectacle of rising idols, it rarely invests in their care when they start to break. Zion stands on the thin line between success and disaster, and the NBA's future may depend on what happens to him. Zion Williamson's collapse is not just a personal tragedy, it is a warning for all of us watching. For the NBA, and for the sports world, the pressure for fame, money, and immediate results is destroying lives. Young people are pushed to the top before they are ready, and when they fall alone, without support, without compassion, without anyone to catch. Therefore, if Zion represents the future of the NBA, then that future is in danger, a future where spectacle is worth more than health, where contracts matter more than humans, and where momentary success erases the importance of lasting care. We can no longer close our eyes to this. We can no longer accept that idols are created to be discarded. If you feel this story deserves to be known, share this video, leave your comment, help spread the truth the NBA tries to hide. Because this is not just the story of Zion Williamson, it's the story of what happens when the price of success is paid with the destruction of those who carry it. Until the next video.